The older I get, the more comfortable I've gotten with giving up on things. Hopes, dreams, but not beating Battletoads. And matter of fact, scratch that, because beating Battletoads is a hope and a dream. Only time for the important things these days. With age comes wisdom, and you start to care about the stuff that really matters, you know? Just think, the day I beat Battletoads, what a day it'll be, when nobody cares, except for maybe some of you. Yeah, that's the thing about playing difficult video games. Often not much to show for it, and not much to lose if you do suck at them. Quick example, Jeff Bezos. Super wealthy person who probably considers himself a winner, but I could almost guarantee you that he sucks at the turbo tunnel in Battletoads. Unlike me, who spent 9 straight hours, no bathroom breaks, mastering it. So tell me, who's the real loser, Jeff? In any case, with not much to be lost for sucking at video games, many of us just yield to the status of sucking at video games. At least certain ones, understandably. After all, there's a lot of games. I probably suck at Tom and Jerry for Super Nintendo, yet life goes on. But sucking at unclogging the toilet, not so easily dismissed. But with video games not giving out rewards for being good at them, many devs of modern games came up with an idea. How about we give out rewards for not being good at them? Or, you know, simply playing them or doing simple things. Part of my theory for why so many of us are bad at video games is that modern games have trained us to expect progress without much resistance, or at least certainly less resistance than there used to be, with the average video game generally being much easier these days, far more frequent checkpoints, ability to significantly lower the difficulty, etc. And funny enough, checkpoints have found their way back into retro games with save states where you can create as many checkpoints as you want, 0 consequences for dying, which, let me be clear, I'm not saying is necessarily good or bad. Play games however you want and all that. I'm just saying it trains us to think a certain way while playing video games. I mean, you want to talk about constant pats on the back. A lot of modern games have got you covered. Some even give you achievements for just starting the game. How hard is that? Oh, turns out it can actually be really hard. Everybody take an honest moment to think about if you have games you own that you've never started. Raise your hand if you do, and bonus points for anybody who actually did raise it. See, I think I have what it takes to be a modern game developer. But with retro games, you want a pat on the back, say, for beating the game. Here you go. That's why I have my wife give me pats on the back while I play Battletoads, and they say Battletoads can't be beaten in co-op. But before I go any further, I'd like to address what I know some of you are thinking. This is just another video trying to bash modern games and prop retro games above them. I promise that's not my intention. I don't care if people play and love modern games. In fact, I encourage it. You want proof? I do it myself. Would I have an extra Xbox controller in green if I didn't enjoy the console? I don't think so. My whole thing is I just want people to give retro games more of a chance, which may or may not work out, but at least a chance, and not dismiss them because they're too old, too hard, or whatever other reason people give. But because modern video games are, in my opinion, essentially training people to be bad at them, whether on purpose or not, it becomes harder and harder to get people to play them, especially the kids, the younger generations that I'd like to see play these games for years to come, keeping these games and our beloved medium relevant going into the future. It goes like this. Some old fart, like myself, hands a kid a controller for an older game and says, play this game, it's awesome. They play for a little bit, die pretty quickly, maybe try 1 or 2 more times, or, 0 more times, because in their mind, what's the point when they could just jump into Minecraft and immediately feel like they're making progress by using a pickaxe over and over to mine resources. Some might say it's monotonous, some might say it's better than getting butt whooped in a retro game, since that creates feelings of failure, and we don't like that. Kids like to get their way, and adults, well, we might be even worse when it comes to that. I once had a craving for Chunky Monkey right at bedtime, and guess what I did instead of going to bed? Went to the store for Chunky Monkey, baby. Newer video games are trying to sell as many copies as possible. Obvious and makes sense. The video game market has exploded in size compared to how big it used to be, and what the gaming industry has really leaned on is being forgiving of people's impatience and people not enjoying failure, which, again, all makes sense. If we want to fail at stuff, we got plenty of other ways to do that without video games also doing it. And conveniently enough, as video games moved into the 3D space, not making players feel like they're failing became even easier. With more wandering around elements, you've never gone the wrong way or done the wrong thing, you're just exploring. I've taken this mentality to real life too. This is me going to work. Now, when it comes to difficulty in modern games, where the conversation can really get interesting is with the more modern games that have a reputation for being hard. A trend that was popularized with Dark Souls, Demon's Souls for the OGs out there, and has continued ever since with games like Elden Ring here being a massive hit. In these cases, being difficult becomes part of the game's identity and makes it different from other games, whereas back in the day, most games were challenging. That's just how it was. What's not all that surprising is every time a Dark Souls game comes out, or Bloodborne, Sekiro, all the games from the developer From Software, it usually sparks a big debate over whether the games should have an easier difficulty option, since many players have come to expect video games to be easier than these ones are, and clearly that's what many prefer. And as much as I understand the sentiment that people should be able to play games however they want, even if that means them being easier, I can also understand how the developers might feel like making the game easier could undermine the design and mechanics that they put into the game. Let me explain what I mean by that. In retro games, if somebody gets good at a game, you can pretty much bet that player will know about darn near every mechanic in the game, how to master them, utilize things efficiently, etc. Because the game is so difficult, you gotta be resourceful. Whereas if the game was easier, a lot of that could be ignored. All the timing, strategy, precision jumping, accurate firing of shots or attacks, without all of that, a lot of what makes the game what it is would be gone. And sure, difficulty can certainly be judged on a scale, with the perfect amount of difficulty being subjective and debatable. But I would just ask that people understand difficulty isn't about a developer being mean, although I did get this letter a few years ago. The challenge in a game is to get the player to adjust their approach and play around with the mechanics and come up with something that works, instead of just charging ahead. Otherwise, it would undermine those mechanics put into the game. But like I've been hammering home this whole video, not everyone wants to adjust their approach, or at least not to the extent that some games require you to. People can be stubborn. Some people eat the exact same thing every day. It's like, try something different, am I right? I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody try to Leroy Jenkins their way through a game, charging blindly ahead, and then get upset when it doesn't work. You need to play smart to get far in retro games. Learn from mistakes. Come up with strategies for dealing with certain obstacles. Hone your timing. I'll never agree that makes for bad game design. Rather, the opposite. Good game design. Whatever moves me farther away from charging recklessly through a stage makes me feel more satisfied. And yeah, like I said before, everyone will have their personal threshold of what amount of difficulty feels just right. I will say though, sometimes I do wonder if we'd be better off sucking at video games. Earlier I said that there's not much to lose by sucking at video games, to which some of you might say, yeah, not much to lose, how about my mind? Certain older games can drive players loopy, almost taking the challenge some games present as a personal attack against them. Got bad enough for me once, I spread a nasty rumor that Ninja Gaiden was the one farting up the game room. The next day, my other games weren't as willing to cozy up, and never found out who the real culprit was. To wrap things up, I'll say this. Obviously, not everyone is bad at video games. It can vary person to person. My gosh, just look at esports. But there are things happening that I believe overall are diminishing the skills of many of us, with kids being the most susceptible. Will somebody please think about the kids? Kind of ironic too, because some of us used to be better at video games when we were kids and had more time, with nothing but difficult games to try to master, no save states to rely on, and no materials to mine in Minecraft. So yeah, some trends in the gaming industry lead to us sucking a little bit more at video games, can vary on a case-by-case basis, and can easily be argued it doesn't matter if we suck at video games anyways. I think that's fair. And remember, the important thing for most people is going to be having fun anyways. So there we have it. As always, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games. He's the retro